Hello foodies, I'm Chef D and welcome to my vegan and vegetarian healthy cooking show, where I'll be bringing you the best of all my vegetarian meals and my vegan meals. Today, I'm bringing you a Gujarati speciality made from aubergines. We're using a traditional masala, but we're going to make it in a different way where it'll look gorgeous, it'll be gourmet, and the end styling is going to be something that you'll be proud to make at home. So let's start cooking. What I'm going to show you today is all the ingredients, but before we start I'm going to switch this pan on. We're working on an electric stove today and we need this preheated, so I'm going to switch this one on and we're going to preheat the little one as well. So just on number 2. So while that's heating up, I'll show you what we've got today. We're making a traditional dry masala to fill our pockets of aubergines. So we've got chickpea flour, sesame seeds. We're going to toast our nuts today, peanuts. We've got our 3 masalas, our green chilies, ginger and garlic. Today's sugar substitute will be jaggery. I use jaggery a lot. In the next couple of videos I will be using monk fruit as well. Unfortunately we just can't get hold of it. We've got freshly desiccated coconut. Today we're making a small pilau made from quinoa. So we've got quinoa and again supercharging with a mix of flax, sunflower seeds, chia seeds and hemp seeds. This is ground together and we'll be using that in the base sauce and in our masala. So we've got lovely fresh green coriander and our aubergines, which we'll make a start with them. In the meantime, I'll show you a little bit about the quinoa I've used. It's just a mixed quinoa and I've already pre-soaked it. I've pre-soaked it, it's only been soaking for about an hour. But what I like to do is clean my quinoa just before I'm going to cook it again. So what I do is rub it through my hands. So all we're doing now is taking a natural protective layer off the quinoa, which is very, very important because it's not very good for us humans to consume this. So it comes off after it's been soaked. So all you need to do is just rub it between your hands and you'll get this soapy scum on top, which we need to take off. And today we'll be cooking the quinoa in this small pan with the double amount of water. So we're going to add 2 cups of water. Just going to measure out 2 cups of water into our small pan. To this we'll be adding, it's already boiled, the water, so we don't need to wait till it boils through. We're just going to add all this quinoa into this. So that starts cooking while we start making the other masala. To this I'm going to add a little bit of salt. I'm going to add half a spoon of pink Himalayan salt. Just going to give that a bit of a stir. We don't need to add anything else to this. Later on we're going to make a little stir fry and add it with the quinoa. So today I just want the quinoa to be a little bit stickier than normal. So therefore I've added half a cup extra water. We're going to make our masala first for the stuffing. For the masala, first and foremost, we just want to roast some peanuts. Just going to put half a cup of peanuts into our pot. going to let that roast through. My pan is extremely hot, so I'm going to reduce the temperature to number 1 because we want these to lightly roast but not burn. While this is roasting, I'll tell you a little bit more about this dish. It's a very traditional dish which is made with this base masala and chopped up aubergines put straight into the masala and cooked away in a lot of oil. In fact, it's quite delicious, don't get me wrong, it's actually a very delicious dish. But today obviously we want to do things healthy, we want to take a different tweak on everything. So what I'll be doing for you is creating a dish. This one used to be a really good seller on my special Friday nights as well. The end styling of this plate is so pretty, you would not think the predominant masalas in here are all Gujarati based. A lot of people think Gujarati food has to be accompanied by, you know, little rotis or puris. Not necessarily. If you've got all the flavors happening, it can be eaten with quinoa as well. So that's roasting away nicely. I'm going to take that out. We're just going to let that cool down slightly. Just going to let that cool. Now in this pan we're going to do a little vagar, tempering. So we're going to add our mustard seeds, about half a teaspoon. Now we're going to add our cumin. And we're going to add a very small quantity of ajwain seeds. Now all this is going to roast nicely. In my shows, in my cookery shows, one of the things I've been showing lately is how much oil would normally go into a dish like this. So if I was to make this with oil, firstly I'd be using olive oil, and I'd be using 1, 2, 3, 4 tablespoons, which I'm not going to use, I'm putting it away. So today we're doing all this masala again without no oil. This is roasted nicely. Now reduce the heat because we don't want the masala to go straight into our throats, which still it will. So we've got a good heaped tablespoon of green chili, crushed green chilies, about good 2 tablespoons of ginger, ground ginger. As you will notice that in a lot of my cooking I don't like to use ready-made pastes or the masala already ground together. I don't like working like that. So we're just putting this together now. This is cooking through nicely. As you can see, although I've not used any oil, we've got a very small amount of sticking at the bottom, which is fine. It will all lift up when we put the rest of the ingredients in. To this we're going to add half a cup of toasted sesame seeds. And I just want that to warm through before I add the chickpea flour. This is a masala used a lot in Gujarati curries. It's used to make your sauces thicker. A lot of like the undiu, if we're going to make stuffed aubergines, little baby aubergines, this is a very, very common masala. But like I said, the amount of oil that's used. So to this we're going to use our full cup of chickpea flour. Now we're going to lightly roast this. Once this is nicely mixed, we'll be adding our teaspoon of pink Himalayan salt. I'll be adding the crushed peanuts to this very soon as well. So we're going to leave that to cook. Now everything is dry in here, so it's going to be very difficult to create some steam, but I'm going to give it about 30 seconds and add a couple of drops of water because we need to create that steam and we need that chickpea flour to cook. So in the meantime I'm going to cut up some coriander and crush our peanuts. Right, all I've done is just pop the peanuts, the roasted peanuts, in a little hand blender. If you've got a pestle and mortar, you can pop it in that. Going to add that to our dry mix. Now my quinoa is cooking away nicely. I'm going to reduce the heat on my quinoa. Right, we're just going to mix this through. I'm going to add a couple of drops of water just to encourage a little bit of steam, because we want this chickpea flour to cook. If you have trouble at home cooking this with no oil, you can add a little bit of oil. It's no problem whatsoever. We're just crushing the little beads of chickpea flour, ensuring that it's all going to cook evenly. To this, I'm going to add a tablespoon Right, I'm going to lid this now. We've just popped in about 2 tablespoons of water. Just going to leave that there to cook for another minute or so. Just having a quick look at the quinoa again. It's cooking away. I'm just going to take off the lid a little bit. I've just chopped up a little bit more coriander. We're going to have a look at our masala again. It's cooking away now. I've reduced the heat and it's cooking away nicely. I'm going to add a couple of more masalas to this. Now what we're going to add here is haldi, turmeric powder, hing, asafoetida, coriander powder, cumin powder, a small quantity of garam masala. Now this is a fenugreek and red chili mix. 1 full spoon of this. It brings out the flavors beautifully. Half a teaspoon of ground fennel seeds. Just going to mix everything together. As this is cooking away, the last ingredient I'll be adding to this is our super seed mix. I don't want to overcook that, because overcooking all the seeds takes away a lot of its own nutrient values anyway. So we're just going to add that right at the end, because they don't need cooking, they just need adding to the dish. So again, I'm just breaking this up. Any lumps that I can see that are uncooked, just breaking away while I'm mixing. Just breaking it up while I'm mixing away. Right, to this now we're going to add our stems that we've just cut. I'll be adding another teaspoon of water, because I want this not to be a dry mix. It's got to be a tiny bit sticky, so I'm going to fill it inside the aubergines. So I will add more water as I cook and as I need it. Normally that binding would have been done by the oil. So this is coming together nicely now. It's still on a low heat. We don't want to burn anything. So it's still cooking away nicely. Just going to leave that alone. As you can see, the quinoa is coming together nicely. It's nearly cooked through, just about ready now. So I'm quickly going to cut some onions and red peppers for our quinoa. Now we're just going back to our masala. To this, we're going to add, it's coming to the end of it now, we're going to add some desiccated coconut, our super seed mix, a good heaped, 2 good heaped teaspoons. Going to add a good, I'd say about 2 inches of jaggery. To this we're going to give it another mix and just let that jaggery melt through. At this point, because I need my mixture to be binding, I still need to add a little bit more moisture to this, but I can still get away with not adding any oil because I can smell the aroma, nothing's burning. And the super seed mix that we've just put in will release its own oils as well. So we're just going to let that cook through slightly for about 30 seconds now. We're just waiting for that jaggery to melt through. In the meantime, we'll have a quick peek at our quinoa. That's cooked lovely. It's nice and fluffy. It's fluffy, but it's not too dry either. I want it like this because it's going to be bound together. It's not going to be a dry quinoa dish. So that's perfectly done for me. I'm going to lid that, switch it off. So we're going to use our electric skillet for the quinoa. I'm going to switch it on just to preheat on 150. Then I'll reduce the heat down to 86 once our rice is cooking. While we're waiting for that to heat up, don't forget to pop some comments down below. Tell us what you're enjoying, what you're disliking. If there's anything we can improve, we can bring some new stuff for you. If there's something you want me to make, pop it down in the comments below. Don't forget to share, like and subscribe and hit that bell icon because you'll get to see us first. We've got new and exciting recipes coming every week for you. So let's see whether this is ready for us. It's heating through nicely. We're just going to add in our onions that we've got ready. Again, as you can see, I'm not adding any oil. We're adding our onions, our red peppers. This is just a little saute for our quinoa rice. You can add more vegetables if you fancy. If you want some peas in there, you can add some little petit pois peas. So we're just sauteing this through. If you want more Indian flavors, you can add some whole cumin to this as well. I want to keep this simple because we've got lots of flavors happening in the masala, and we've got lots and lots of flavors happening in our tomato gravy, which we haven't even started yet. So when you see the whole dish coming together, you'll see that I'm creating 3 different elements with 3 different flavors. So that's cooking through nicely. We're just going to add a tiny bit of salt just to increase a little bit of the moisture in here. I want to add a little bit of garlic. And like I said, I'm not going to make this spicy. This particular quinoa is going to stay nice and balanced and lovely, simple flavors. So to this, we've just added some garlic. To this, we want to add a little bit of turmeric powder. Just want a lovely golden color coming through. That's nicely cooked through. I'm going to add our quinoa to this. So I'm going to reduce the temperature now on this because we don't need it to cook any further. In fact, I'm going to switch it off. We just need this to saute through so all the vegetables gets incorporated in with the quinoa nicely. Now again, you can add more vegetables if you want. Today I just wanted to keep it a little bit simple. So as you can see, the turmeric color is coming through beautifully, nice and golden. So we're just going to leave that lidded for about a minute before we transfer it back into the pot. Then we're going to use this skillet for our aubergine pockets. So in the meantime, we're going to have a quick look at our masala, and that's just about done now. As you can see, the base, we've got some sticking happening at the base, but it will all lift up, so we've got nothing to worry about. So this is basically done. I'm going to have a quick taste just to see what the salt level's like. Now the flavors in this has to be a little bit more strong and pungent because it's going to be packed inside aubergines. So obviously the masala needs to come through into the aubergines as well. So I'm just going to have a quick taste of this. I would add a tiny bit of my red chili mix powder with the fenugreek in it, because the flavors of this will just bring out everything else so nicely. So everything is fine, the salts are fine, and it's cooked beautifully. So I'm going to switch this off now. I'm going to take this out into our bowl. Just going to scrape it through. Just going to scrape off any excess dry masala from there. Now you don't need to worry about this. What's at the bottom of here is going to lift up with all the tomatoes I'm going to put in. So this is our masala ready. Now what we're going to do in this is directly switch it back on again. I'm going to add, just make out that it's clean. Don't worry about it at all. As long as it's not black, you've not burnt it. So this is perfectly fine. So we're going to add a little bit of our garlic. That's going to just cook. It's already heating through. A small amount of green chilies. Just going to warm that through because I don't want it to taste raw. So it's cooking on top of the stuck down masala of our filling masala. That's cooking through nicely. Going to add just a handful of coriander. Now to this we're going to add this whole plateful of chopped fresh tomatoes. This is going to go directly in here. The moisture of the tomatoes, this will lift up whatever's stuck at the base here. So you don't have to worry, it's going to just improve the flavors. I'm going to add some turmeric. Ground cumin and tomatoes go so beautifully. They taste absolutely divine. Got a small teaspoon of ground black pepper. Got 2 teaspoons of salt. Just going to cook this through now. Let the tomatoes reduce. Put the lid back on and let that cook through. Just going to increase the heat a little bit more. In the meantime, we're going to get our quinoa out of here and into its original pot again. So we can use this skillet for our aubergines. So as you can see, it's mixed in through nicely. Right, that's our quinoa ready. We're just going to lid it and forget about that until plating time. Right, we'll have a quick look at our tomatoes. Cooking away nicely. All the masala from the base has lifted up beautifully and it's incorporated into the tomatoes, making it a lovely gravy. So we're just going to smash it with our ladle, just slightly. Now to this I'm going to add a couple of more things now at this stage. We're going to add our seed mix as well. This not only obviously adds to all the protein and all the nutrients, it's going to make my tomato sauce a little bit thicker. So it adds to the thickness as well. And it gives you a lovely nutty flavor. So to this, again, we're going to add a little bit of jaggery because we want that little bit of sweet and sour taste. To this, we're going to add half a cup of tomato passata. That's coming together beautifully. Now once that's cooked through, I'm going to put it through my blender just to make it smoother. Now normally this chutney is left chunky and it tastes beautiful. For this dish, I just want it smoother. So that's going to cook through for another minute. In the meantime, what we're going to do is I've cleaned the skillet. It's all ready. I've switched it on. So we're going to get the skillet ready for our aubergines. Now this is the best part. Our masala is ready. We grab our aubergine and we're going to start with the thicker part. So no discrimination to this beautiful aubergine, but we're going to do about a good inch thick wedges. Don't cut them any thinner than an inch, because we're going to create some pockets in there and fill our masala. So if you end up doing them thinner, you won't be able to create the pocket that we want to create. Now, take a knife that you're comfortable with. I'm comfortable with this one, but I'm going to show you with a normal knife. So take a small knife right from the center, make your way into the center. So carefully, what we want to do is create a pocket. Now, wherever you've started from, leave about 2 inches between the start and the end. Now, in the middle, we need to go right into the middle there. So these aubergines, we always have to do it last. We don't want to soak them in water. So just when we're ready to cook and our masala is ready, that's when we start on the aubergines. So don't make the aubergines in advance. You can cook it in advance, but don't cut them in advance. So I'll get all of these ready and I'll show you how we'll be filling them. So right, we've got our pocket now. We're going back to our masala that we've created. Now we take a good amount. So as you can see, I've created like a thick lump. Now, normally that would have been bound together with a lot of oil, but today we've just used some water, but we've still cooked it, it's still cooked, and we've still been able to create this consistency. We're going to pack it into the middle. Now put enough that can go there. We don't want the two sides to break. So just press it down. Carry on doing the same for all of them. Now, one thing you can't do with this dish is make this stage in advance, because the salt from the masala will start making the aubergines sweat, and you will have a tray full of wet, sweaty pocket aubergines that you can't really work with any longer. So as you can hear this, it's telling me my tomato base is ready, nicely cooked through. Now this cooking system, when it starts making that noise, it's telling me my temperature has increased. So all I need to do is reduce my temperature. If there's plenty of heat, it'll carry on cooking. I don't need to touch it anymore. Going back to this, let's finish this off. So we're ready to put it into our skillet. So we'll stick to 4 at the moment. Right, we've got our aubergines ready. Now at this stage, you're probably thinking, how is she going to shallow fry them without any oil? I'm not going to. I'm going to need a little bit of oil. Just going to lightly coat our aubergine on both sides with some oil. And that will just help the cooking, because as you remember, we've used no oil in the inside of the masala. It's just going to help it cooking, help give it a lovely brown color. So we're going to put those 4 in here. Close our lid for about a minute. Then I'll turn it over, take the lid off. I'm going to make it go nice and crispy and brown on both sides. and our aubergines will be ready. Right, I'm going to tidy up from here and we'll be ready for plating ever so soon. Right, while this is cooking away, I'm going to get the sauce completely ready now. So we're going to put it back into our hand blender. Just give it a little blend so it's nice and smooth and creamy. So that's our sauce blended up nicely. And because we've used so much fresh tomatoes, we've obviously not got that bright red tomato puree colour. That's perfectly fine. Let that cool down. Our quinoa is ready. Our sauce is ready. Our aubergines are cooking. So as soon as this is ready, we'll be plating up and showing you the complete dish. So if you see here, my skillet is heating up nicely. So I'm just going to have a quick look. It's sweating through, the waters are coming through, everything's fine. So, right, we'll be back in about 5 minutes to flip them over. Right, we're going to have a quick look at this. And we're checking on our aubergines. Just going to flip them over. And they're cooking nicely on both sides. Now, the aubergines will cook ever so quickly, and the masala inside is already cooked. So now all we need to do is just make sure that it's nice and crispy on both sides, cook through as well. So I've just flipped them over, and it's cooking away nicely. If you don't have a skillet like this, you can make it in your non-stick pans as well. You can put it in the oven. I only find when you put it in the oven, they do dry out a lot. So you end up putting lashes of more oil on it. So if you do have a system where you can cook on a heavy bottom base pan or something, that's when this particular aubergine will be nice and it'll be cooked and it'll be crispy. The recipe is in the description underneath our video, so everything will be in there. If you're stuck, if you want any kind of advice, leave a comment below. We'll answer you back. And definitely press that bell icon because we're bringing new shows every week, exciting new recipes, and we'll be supercharging all these foods every week, bringing you new supercharged ingredients. And the ending dish will be gourmet style, will be traditional style. So it's never going to be one theme. It'll be a fun-packed, full of lots of different recipes. We're going to have a quick peek at this again. And it's cooking away beautifully. Just going to check, just flip it over and check again. As you can see, it's browning nicely. Now this particular one has come apart, but like I say, when you make that pocket and if one of the sides get thin, that's what will happen, but that's perfectly fine. So that's cooking away nicely. So we've added no extra oil, just what we brushed on top, just to help that browning. So we're going to lid that again, and that's the aubergine is, I would say, about nearly 90% cooked now. So I'm going to make a start with my plating. So I'm going to place the quinoa in the center. If you don't have a ring, that's perfectly fine. You can just pat it together or put it in a little cup or a bowl. Put the quinoa in the middle. Now, if you remember, the quinoa is just mild, simple flavors. We've added garlic, salt, turmeric, and a little bit of cumin powder. Now, anything on the side, we just take away. So I'm patting this down because we don't want it to come out onto the dish. So we're just patting it down enough. That's our quinoa done. So as you can see here, I'm going to lift that mold up and our quinoa is perfectly set. It's not falling apart. Like I said, I even cooked it, keeping that slight stickiness because I wanted that sticky edge to it. So now we go back to our sauce. Try to serve this as hot as possible. I'm going to put a little dollop on the top here, not too much, we don't want it to come out on the sides. Now this sauce is just going to make its own place on the plate. I'm not going to make any fancy twirls or anything. We're just waiting for our aubergines to cook through. In the meantime, we've got a bit of sesame that we're going to put on top of our sauce. We're just waiting on these aubergines, and they are done too. So let's pick out the most prettiest one out of here and plate it up. So all we need to do now is pop it on top. Hopefully it won't slide away on camera. Now that would be funny. Now we're going to finish this off with a little bit of sesame, a little bit of coconut, and we can't go too far away from coriander. So a nice simple dish put together so beautifully with Gujarati flavors, beautiful healthy quinoa, and a beautiful tomato base. As much as this is looking beautiful, it's going to taste delicious. But on top of that, I want to show you something. This is all the oil that we've saved. We've not used it. So we're looking at least 4 tablespoons. And what you saw was I was just drizzling a little bit of oil on the aubergines when it was frying in the last skillet. So we've easily saved over 400 calories just on this oil. Even though it's lovely olive oil, it's still extra calories that we've saved. And that's what all these programs are going to be about, where we can save on unnecessary fats and oils. Enjoy nice, healthy, delicious food. Join me next week when we bring to you loads of more exciting, delicious recipes. Bye-bye for now.